Every business owner's most stressful moment is when they realize a client is not paying their invoice. Now, some business owners are going to be tempted to just walk away, but many of us, it becomes an ongoing stressor, a fear of losing that money, having to pursue that money, and all of the stress that goes with trying to collect. And my guest today wants to share a strategy to help you reclaim that money and get that invoice paid. Welcome to Amplify Your Success Podcast. I'm your host, Melanie Benson. I'm known as an authority amplifier. I'm host of the Rising Tide Collective and Authority Accelerator. And today I have a guest joining us to reveal how to collect the cash using the 4 keys framework. Now, before we drop in, I want to remind you that the most important part of your work as a thought leader, as an expert, is getting your message in front of new audiences. And if you are not doing that, if you are not seeing your visibility turn into ideal clients and opportunities, you're either in the wrong rooms or you need to fine tune your topic. This is what I do in the Authority Accelerator Mastermind. And if you're ready to make sure your thought leadership is being not just witnessed, but it is a conviction, it is a conversation that moves people into action, let's chat. I'll make sure to link it up in the show notes. My guest today is Dee Bowden, a revenue recovery specialist and author of Collect the Cash. And as a specialist with more than 2 decades of experience in improving cash flow and reducing revenue loss from unpaid invoices, she has created Collect the Cash brand through which she teaches business owners that the sale is not complete until the money is in the bank. That's what we all want, right? And she's known for recovering $6 million in 60 days for a small IT company, along with her relationship-driven approach to 828 collections. She's had her work featured in Forbes and Black Enterprise, and now here on Amplify Your Success. Dee, welcome to the show.
Melanie, thank you so much. My goodness, what an honor to be here today. So I'm going to do a course correction. My last name is actually Bowden, but we'll fix
Bowden,
that.
thank
Yeah,
you. Oh,
no worries. We're good.
well,
It's all good.
it's always those, it's like those little,
Nuances, like,
where the accents are,
yeah,
right?
go.
Bowden.
It's fine.
Okay.
We're good. We're good.
Well, and just a little history, fun history is Dee and I got to know each other in Visibility Velocity, and she was one of the people that joined VIP and pitched her extraordinary topic. I was so blown away by this because I have my own history of major stress and major impact to my business with a series of unpaid invoices during
Mm,
the 2009 financial crisis. I had close to $40,000 in uncollectible invoices that just literally dissolved into thin air overnight because people's
wow.
credit cards were impacted. I didn't know Dee at that time. I wish I had. I wish I had this information and this strategy that we're going to go through today, because having a way to peacefully, powerfully, and connection focused to resolve those client unpaid invoices could have made a major difference in my business. So, Dee, I'm so grateful you're here and that you're going to take us through this process today.
Absolutely. It's so funny that, first of all, thank you for sharing that, because I think that if there are lots of things that are very stressful in life, but not getting paid for the work that you do,
Hmm.
that's my number one. I'm like, listen, you're I'll say it this way. When we started our businesses, all of us, I jokingly say, all of us had I say we had a chicken wing, tequila, wine, whatever your favorite drink is. We had this experience where we're like, we can make a difference. We can solve this problem, dot, 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 dot. So, if it's okay with you, I'll share with you a little bit about my story and how I got here.
Oh, I would love that. Yes, because this
Okay.
is not something that everyone is capable or willing to do for work in the world.
No, and they don't. Most people do not wake up and go, "Oh, I want to talk to people about how much money they owe, and I want to go collect it." No, that's not normally what we do. So I'll tell you all the story. So what had happened was, about 20 years ago, I used to work for a small IT company outside of Boston, where I'm originally from. Melanie, and I'm sure everybody else in your audience has probably had a corporate job, a nonprofit job, a government job. Pick your lane. And it's usually, like this: welcome aboard. Here's your cubicle. Here's your box. Here's your plant. And here's what you're going to be doing. My case, it was welcome aboard, Dee. You're going to join the collections team. And we have a small problem. I'm like, how small? Oh, $8 million small. Wait, what? $8 million is not small. That's a lot of money. And I'm like, y'all are kidding, right? They're like, no. We sold $8 million worth of IT services, software licenses, all the things. And like I said, they had a whole collections team. I'm a part-time collector. I work Monday through Friday, 4 to 8. So I get to my desk. They give me a list of accounts, and they're like, "Your resume says you know how to recover money. We need you to help us collect this cash." And I'm like, "Okay." I'm a person of faith, so I had my short conversation with God, and then when I finished, I was like, "Okay, I do 4 things to collect this money." Problem solving is the first one, and I start off with, basically what had happened was, how did y'all end up with $8 million? So I literally old school get on the phone. Hi, my name is Dee. I'm from such and such company. I need to talk to the person in accounts payable, please. Dee, I'm so happy that you called. Really? Yes. Well, here's what happened. So this particular client said, we changed our billing system. I said, you did? Right. When did you notify everybody? Oh, about 3 months ago. And I said, I promise you, my team never got the email. And they're like, so that's why $2 million of the $8 million couldn't get collected, because we kept submitting the invoices in the wrong system, in the wrong format, and not knowing that everything had changed. So I said, so you're telling me if I get these invoices that are worth $2 million reformatted in the right system this week, we can get paid? Yes. Can you do me a favor, please? Can you send a copy of that email to me and my former boss, who was the comptroller? And I said, I need to know, I need to give it to her. Here's $2 million. If we fix this, we can get paid. Now, Melanie, when I sat there, I'm like, so these senior people never made that phone call, never asked the question, and never found out the story behind why we couldn't get paid. So I keep going, and I collect $6 million in 60 days, part-time. True story. Now, if you ever worked in sales, which is the other end of AR, salespeople get commissions. So you get used to, you land your client. If we get paid, you're getting a commission. Great. Well, when we get paid, we usually get bonuses. So I'm thinking, great. Me and my buddies, we're about to go downstairs and get this great envelope from the CEO. Hey, everybody, listen, come downstairs. We want to have a chat. I'm like, okay. I look at my buddies, they're looking at me, and we're like, okay, so we about to get this little white envelope, right? Nope. Thank you so much for what you've done across all the departments. We've made an executive decision. We're closing the company today and letting 100 people go 2 months before the holiday season. Now, even though that happened to me 20 years ago, Melanie and everybody listening, I'm sure there's been something in your life that's either jarred you, kind of made this mark where you go, I don't want to be here again. I do not want to have this feeling of like, I went to work, I did my job, I'm out of a job. Wait, what? So after that happens, I go on to continue my career, but then COVID happens, and I'm like, here we go again. But it's on a bigger scale. I don't know if you know this, Melanie, but I love theater. So when Broadway shuts down, every theater house is a business, which obviously has contracts with the actors, the people, the food, da da da. And I'm like, so here we go again, larger scale. No theater shows are happening, which means no sales are coming in unless everybody got paid up front. There's no revenue coming in. I'm like, this is my story on fleek. And so my book coach goes, hey, Dee, you have a system, and your why is that you want small business owners to win. Teach us your system. I said, don't nobody want to learn this. Nobody wakes up and goes, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do for a living. I want to go talk about money. I want to go help people do this. She's like, no, Dee, you got to understand. I've heard your story, and I've watched how you do this. You do this different than anybody that I know. Teach us how to do this. So we played double dutch. If you know anything about jumping rope, I could not jump rope and I couldn't swing. But she got the story out of me and helped me to put it in a framework to make me see that I had something of value that I could teach small business owners. And so she won, and that's why Collect the Cash now exists, and it actually has a framework and all the other things. But that's how I got here, because I went to work one day and I lost my job, and it was with a small business, and I thought, this can't happen again. And at least if I start talking about it and I can start to plant my flag, here's a way I can teach y'all how to do this and make sure that you don't end up here again. Can't promise you it won't happen again, but the point is, if you have the systems and the strategies, prayerfully you'll implement them, and you'll at least know, your sale is complete and your money's actually in your bank.
Oh my gosh, what a powerful and epic story. And as you're listening in, I'm sure you're imagining one of those kind of turning point, everything kind of downloads and you realize, wow, okay, this problem, this challenge, this experience I'm having will never happen again. And here's what I'm doing differently. We all have those. So thank you for sharing yours. You know, when you're sharing your story, I couldn't help but thinking that many business owners like they project the blame out to the person not paying the invoice. But what you were illuminating is there was a kind of a breakdown or a disconnect that the business themselves, the business owner and the people on the team did not recognize.
Hmm.
How often do you see that as the reason why business owners aren't getting paid? Like there's actually a breakdown inside of their own processes that's keeping them from getting paid.
Melanie, if I had $1 for every time I saw it, listen, we be sitting on an island somewhere.
Well,
No, I'm joking aside.
let's start collecting those dollars.
Hey, listen, let's get the dollars. So seriously, but it happens more often than you think because number one, people aren't taught to investigate why they haven't gotten paid. They just go on the offensive. They go, "You're my client. I did the work for you. Why haven't you paid me?" Never once do they think, "Oh, maybe there's something internally that we didn't do correct." Like prepare a proper invoice, or in my experience dealing with the government, you forget the contract number or the task order number or purchase order number, um, or you forgot to include, there's one copy of the original invoice plus, four copies go to other five other people plus the receipts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of people, they're so stuck on I just need to get paid versus okay, let me figure out is there anything internally that we missed and then how do we fix it? And then secondly, when will you get on the phone? Imagine that. What a concept! Talking to somebody on the phone.
If
Yeah, I
you
was
can
like,
even
oh,
get them on the phone.
get them on the phone. Get them on the phone because I jokingly say we can't solve everything in 144 characters. So I'm old school. How I've done what I've done is I build relationships. We're going to have a conversation. We're going to jump on Zoom or Teams or Google Meet or whatever it is, and are you going to show me what happened with the invoice? Because if we don't problem solve, if you don't show you the customer don't show me where we made a mistake, we can't course correct it. We can't fix it. And it's not that you don't want to pay us. It's potentially something that we missed. But if we don't ask you and we don't take notes and fix it, and oh my gosh, say sorry, we're not going to get paid, and we'll just keep repeating the same issue. That's how I've done what I've done is because I just believe that most companies are not trying to not pay you. Now there is exceptions. Now of course obviously if they've got contracts that they're waiting for payments for, then they got to pay you. That's one thing. Secondly, if you submitted an invoice to the wrong department, let me say you sent it to the wrong email, the wrong person. Okay, but you as the business owner have to take responsibility for. I say it this way: collect the cash. The sale is not complete until the money's in the bank. So you got to go figure out why hasn't the sale ended up with money in my bank account. What steps do I need to take to go figure this out? You have to become not only a great salesperson in business, but you also have to become a really good problem solver. You got to sell. You got to sell and get the contract, get the client. You got to do the work. You got to invoice them, and you have to get paid. And if you don't get paid, you got to circle back and figure out why, and then the steps to go research it and fix it.
So let's separate out the problem with there's a problem you've created, right? Like you didn't submit it properly, you waited too long,
Mm-hmm.
any of those things.
Yep.
From now there's really a challenge with the client. And I
Mm-hmm.
love that you're introducing this idea that the money can get resolved, the debt can get resolved, or the invoice can get resolved through relationship building.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned somewhere in your materials about every unpaid invoice has a story.
Absolutely.
Tell us about what that means. And does that tie in a little bit to how you build relationships, maybe?
Sure. Um. Okay. Best way
Or
I
it
can.
doesn't, and you can tell me about both.
No, it actually it does, and the reason I say every unpaid invoice has a story, and that's based on my career. So, um, every time I've had to go deal with, okay, for example, the $6 million story I told at the beginning of this conversation, I had to go find out what was the story behind why they hadn't paid us. So one example I shared was the client said that they changed the billing system. That was the story behind why we hadn't gotten paid $2 million. So every unpaid invoice has a story means that the money is stuck somewhere, and you have to become the investigator and figure out why. What the story means, okay, it could be, let's say you have a corporate contract. So the story that you haven't, did you submit the invoice in the proper portal? Did you upload it into the system and you do all the things? That's one thing. If you have a government contract, which is my lane, did you prepare the proper invoice? Did you include the contract number? All the things. Regardless of what field or industry it is, every invoice has a story means, I'm sorry, every unpaid invoice has a story means if you have not received payment, there's a reason why. You have to become an investigator. You have to go basically old school Sherlock Holmes to go find out what happened. Because until you get the answers to why they haven't paid you, you'll keep doing the same thing. You'll call, you'll email, you'll text, but you won't do the next step, which is do investigation to find out why, and then give your client a chance to explain to you what happened. And then once you get the story, then usually you get the we're missing data. Oh, we went to the wrong email. Oh, that person no longer handles this account. Now it's with so and so. Oh, in a way in the world, I would have known that if I hadn't gotten the story, because I'm sending my email to that my contact thinking that's my person, and this person has moved on, but nobody bothers to let us know that your account has now been transferred from this person to this person, and this is who you need to talk to. That's what I mean by every unpaid invoice has a story, because it usually leaves clues, but until you ask the question, you're not going to get the clues, so you can basically fix what's wrong and then eventually get paid.
Let's go a little deeper into the relationship side.
Mm-hmm.
And I am imagining, because I may or may not have been this person in the past, that when I haven't been paid, I've made up a story in my head of all the worst case scenarios. And so if and when I do talk to this client, I'm able to have a conversation, I may not necessarily be presenting my best self as a business owner, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what would it look like if somebody's going into this investigative process with the idea that they want to build a relationship? What would be different about that?
Great question. What's different about it is this. This part is a continuation of your sales process, because you built a relationship with that client to land the business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you landed the business. You have a deliverable. You have something that they bought from you that you have to deliver to them, right? You have to invoice them. Then you have to collect your cash, and you have to make sure that you manage that relationship all the way through. Now, I understand that most clients are going to be listening to this going, nah, D, I'm not building a relationship. I'm getting on the phone. I need to know where's my coins. I need my money today. Wrong approach. Trust me, I know. And because collections, generally speaking, and I'll say it this way, consumer collections has a really bad rep. When people hear collections, they think about the IRS. They think about people that are super aggressive. They think about people that don't care, don't want to hear the story. They're dialing for dollars. They got a list of accounts. They got to get this money. Da 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 da. That's not my approach. How I've learned to do what I've been doing successfully is this. I figured out that most people that do this level of work, number one, they just want to be heard. They want somebody to hear their side of the story. Number two, most people want to help you get your money, but there are other things that are happening. So if you go approach your client from the solution based approach, which is, hey, Melanie, listen, I'm calling on behalf. Listen, Melanie, we need to have a conversation. I noticed that my last invoice has not been processed for payment. I was just wondering if there's anything that has come up that's holding up the payment. Then you pause and then let Melanie answer the question. Let her tell you, yes, and here are the reasons. Then my approach, thank you so much for letting me know, because sometimes you just don't know. Sometimes you just don't know. I operate from a solutions-based approach versus a demand approach. When I tried to do it the other way, trust me, early in my career, it was not effective, and I was like, okay, don't do that again. We got to figure out a different approach. So I learned that when I built the relationships with accounts payable with the accounts payable people internally and externally, when I said, thank you for taking my phone call, thank you for listening to me, thank you for explaining to me what I missed, and then we got the payment, I realized, oh, so that's how you do it. You need to express gratitude to them for helping you solve your problem. When I saw that, I said, oh, and most people that I've ever talked to that work with accounts payable in businesses, This is what they say, D, no one ever comes back and says thank you to us. And I said, oh, another key. Got it. I'm going to make a point to make sure I go back and say thank you. Seems simple, but it's been effective for me.
I love that. And I think there's probably a question emerging for people who are listening in right now, and they're like, yeah, but what about the people where it wasn't just a mistake or an oversight, but they literally do not have the money?
Okay, great question. So here's the thing. If your client says, I don't have the money, okay, that's not good. That's the first thing. Secondly, second question is, okay, are you said business owner? Do you have enough funds to keep you going while you all have a conversation? Because if they don't have all the money, you could ask them for a meeting and ask this question. Okay, you owe me $10,000. You say you don't have it. Okay, great. What can we work out today? Can we do a partial payment? And then you said, business owner, have to be okay with, I know they owe you $10,000 and they should have had the $10,000, but they don't. But you don't want to ruin this relationship. So can you ask them if they are willing to make a partial payment? And then y'all document that via email so that this was this, now it's this, and we're going to make the payments. And then you remind them that, you know that in good faith you expected them to pay you, and the plans were that they were going to pay you, but they don't have the funds. So can you offer them an olive branch and say, okay, you don't have all the money, but can you make a partial payment today? And then what can we do in 2 weeks or 30 days? And then and then you make sure that you follow up and make sure that both people agree to this and then ask them. And so that's my approach. Now, I understand as people hear this, they're going to go, D, oh my gosh, I don't want to do that. Listen, I get it. They should listen. I'm on your side. I think you should get paid in full. Absolutely, you should get paid in full. But if they can't pay you in full, and this is a client that you value and the relationship matters to you, and you want to do repeat business, can you give them grace this one time? I'm not saying you do this all the time. I'm saying once. Y'all make the agreement, and then here's the thing: you hold them accountable. Now, if 30 after 30 days they don't make your payments, then that's a different conversation. That's past what I do, but that's a different conversation. My point is that um you want to I want you to win, but I want you to win in a way that if this is a client that matters to you and you want to keep working with them, see if you can do a partial payment. Let's get some money in the bank, because some money is better than no money. That's my personal belief.
No, I think that's really a valuable piece of advice there. I've certainly had to walk away. I mean, I'm lucky. I'm 26 years, Dee, I've been in business. I've maybe had a handful outside of that one pocket in 2009 when basically everybody's credit cards froze overnight. I mean, that
Right.
was a extreme situation with the industry. But overall, I've pretty much had good luck with getting people to follow through on their commitments. And there's been a few where we've had to do exactly what you talked about, where we had to kind of work with them into a payment plan that shifted what I was receiving, but they did follow through. And by the way, that's good for everybody, because when a client doesn't pay their invoice, most people have shame and guilt about that. And so by
Yes.
holding them to a plan that they can follow through on, you're actually helping them win as well and kind of resolve that residual guilt that's probably coming up for them that nobody wants to hold on to, right?
No, and I'm so glad you said that, Melanie, because that's the unspoken part of business that nobody really wants to say. Nobody, I mean, most people, when they get into, let's say a contract with you or a coaching program with you, they say they're going to get so many sessions and they cost this. Most people, when they sign up to go through the work with you or anybody, it's usually, okay, yep, my job or my contracts are in place. I can make my payment. We're good. I'm getting so many sessions, da 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 da. But then guess what, y'all? Life happens. It happens to all of us. Now, I know that there is a lot of shame, because it's not there's shame, there's guilt, there's embarrassment, and then there's this line. D, I don't want to bother them. You're not bothering them when you follow up to get your payment. That's part of business. My tagline is collect the cash. The sale is not complete until the money's actually in the bank. You're not bothering them by doing follow up. You are actually making sure that the sale is complete and your money's in the bank. So if they haven't paid you, there is follow up. Now, are there times when people just ghost you? Yes. Are there times that people don't honor their commitments? Yes. Does it suck? Yes. All the things. But most people, when they sign up to do business, they intend to follow through. But you also need to understand that sometimes life just goes. What do the kids say? Life be life, and life does life what does what life does, and it
Yeah, life
happens.
beat. My life was lifing me.
Yes, exactly. And I don't want to see anybody, you know, get ghosted or get, lose money, but it happens. And the thing is, like, you have to understand that that's a part of business, but the things you can do to make sure that this doesn't happen. And if you decide that, okay, you can make a decision like this. Okay, I'm getting paid up front. I'm not doing a payment plan. If you don't have all the funds to pay me up front, we're not doing business, and that's your choice. Now, if you do the payment plan, then you've got to have your contract in place and all the things in place to make sure that you get your deposit, then you do your sessions, and then you build a credit card. And if the credit card doesn't go through, hey Melanie, hey Dee, listen, I want you to run your card. Didn't go through. Oh my gosh, Melanie, you know what? I need 24 hours. I forgot to make my payment, so I have extra credit, so my card can go. Can you give me 24 hours? That's called grace. That's called grace.
Absolutely. So, last question around this because I'm so first of all, I know there's a lot of people in like the coaching communities and the spiritual communities where there's a version of this where it's like, look, I'm not gonna go into the energy of lack, so I'm just gonna let it go. Or they don't want to get into the strife over holding somebody accountable to their payments.
Mm-hmm.
But I would be curious from your point of view, as somebody who's lived in the trenches of collecting unpaid invoices for so many years, like what is that line in the sand where it's like collect, pursue, or walk away because what it's going to take to collect is not worth the effort or the investment maybe that they have to make.
Oh boy, Melanie, that's a deep question, but it's a good
Okay,
one.
maybe it's the too deep, but give me
No,
the
no,
light
no, no, no,
version.
no, no. I'm no, no. I was actually kind of doing it tongue in cheek, but seriously, I had a conversation with somebody about this probably within the past 30 days. They reached out to me and they said, "Hey, D, I've got some clients that owe me a lot of money." So we jump on a call, and I'm starting to get going down my list of questions. Okay, tell me the story. What's going on? What happened? Do you have a contract in place? They had a payment plan. Da 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 da. And before I could get down, I think I got maybe two questions asked, and they're like, "Literally, D, I just don't want to do this." I'm like, Okay, can you tell me why?" Oh my gosh! And to your point, the energy for me to go have somebody or get an attorney, da da da. I just don't want to do that. And I'm like, but you just said 10 minutes ago that you didn't want to lose this much money. Yeah, but my energy, my spirit, my whatever the term was that day, I just don't feel like doing it. And I was like, okay, so let me make sure I'm clear. You're prepared to leave over $100,000 uncollected. You're gonna walk away from $100,000. Yep. Okay. I'm not gonna fight you on it. That's what I'm not gonna do. I'm not fighting you on it. If you make the decision that your business is successful enough that $100,000 to you is just it's just change. You're not worried about it. Okay, great. But then I did have a question. I said, well, then why did you book a call with me? Oh, because I thought I wanted you to go collect the money, but you just said you don't want to meet the energy. So I'm like, okay, we're not doing this because if you want me to work with you, then we have a process in place. We got to do some things, but you're telling me that the energy to go get this money is not worth it to you. So you're like, I'm just gonna walk away. I'm like, okay. And I had to respect their decision because I'm like, well, I don't want to see anybody lose $100,000. I don't want to see anybody lose a dollar. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not fighting with you over that. If you come to me and you say after this conversation, I don't want to do this, okay, and that's what you do. And I get that there are some people that some of this melody is this. A lot of people don't like confrontation.
Yes.
Is that it? Confrontation brings up a lot of uncomfortable feelings for people, and I'm like, okay, confrontation to me is a conversation. Yes, I understand it can get hostile and it can go left if you unless you reel it in. But the point is that if you won't confront the issue that's sitting in front of you, then this will just keep going and it won't get solved. And then you're gonna be back here again doing the exact same thing because you didn't interrupt this pattern and do something different, get some assistance, or outsource it to somebody who can actually do it for you so you can go off and do your thing.
Yeah. That's great, great distinction. And really, I'm just going to leave this part of the conversation with the listener to think about if this is you and you've noticed that you tend to walk away from unpaid invoices, or this is a pattern, like there's something deeper going on. You need to look at your own um, infrastructure and your billing practices. And like I had a client one time, Dee, this is probably going to make your skin crawl. I had a client in my early days of coaching who she would quote unquote forget to bill her clients for 9 months. So
Hmm.
I literally made her one day, like her coaching assignment was you are going to go and you are going to do your billing and get caught up and create a system so this never happens again because that's sometimes people's patterns with money show up in funny ways. But I love what you're saying here about really decide that the money is worth collecting. Again, going back to what we said earlier, sometimes it's not just about you, it's about actually helping the other person too.
Right.
So, you have a resource that you're sharing with our audience today on how, I think you call it the 5 tips to collect the cash. Could
Yes.
you quickly share what that is and how people can find that?
Sure thing. Five tips. Five tips to collect the cash is basically a lead magnet, and it's basically it gives you there are 5 tips that you can get to set up your tracking system, making sure your banking information is set, and there's a couple more things. The reason that I think it's important is that a lot of us when we do we set up our business, we there are some things we lack. We miss some steps because we're so excited to get the business going. We forget, oh, we need a tracking system. Oh, we forget, we can't commingle personal funds and business funds. You need like a business bank account, things like that. So the tips give you 5 ways to collect your cash and to make sure that you can confidently have this conversation, um, and not be afraid to get paid. And
Hmm.
then you can get it at collectthecash.biz/freebie. So that's collectthecash.biz/freebie. And you just put your name and your email, and it's a great little download for you. Thanks for
Great.
the
Sounds
chance to give
sounds
it
like
to
a
you.
really, really valuable report to go keep on hand in your library so that when and if this does occur for you, you know exactly where to go. And by the way, you also help people, coach them through this, consult, and sometimes do this for them. So now
Yes,
you have, as a listener, you have a resource in your Rolodex of where to turn if you need expert guidance on this. So thank you, Dee.
absolutely. Thank you.
Before we close, I'm really curious. What's your parting thought for someone? And I want to go into the how could somebody maybe set themselves up to avoid a lot of these kinds of problems in the first place?
Number one, you need to have a tracking system. And a tracking system is nothing more than the name of your customer, if you have a contract number, the dollar amount, what do they buy from you, when do you invoice them, when do you get paid, and a section called notes. It's that simple. A tracking system is very similar. The tracking system is very similar to how you bought your cell phone. The cell phone company uses that exact same system to track you, and the cell phone companies never miss getting paid. They always collect their cash. But yeah, definitely. So it's 2 things. Definitely have a tracking system, number one, and then number two. Um, I believe in the power of affirmations. The way I use that is I do it through a sports analogy. So right now we're in the middle of the NBA finals, and the 2 teams that are playing. And so right now they do what's called get into the zone. So for all of you business owners, you need to get into your collection zone. Pregame, before you make the call to the client, what are you saying to yourself so that you know that you are ready to have this conversation? Game day is when you make your call or schedule on Zoom or Teams or whatever. And then post game is when you collect your cash, number one. But more importantly, is when you celebrate your win, because the wins that you celebrate create momentum. And then what you do is you rinse and repeat. So pre-game, affirmations, get into your collection zone. Game day, have the conversations, even if it's uncomfortable. Get it to resolution. Post game, I'm sorry, yeah, pre-game, game day, post game, post zone, celebrate your win, and then celebrate. Because when you celebrate it, what you see is that, wow, something that I was afraid to do in the beginning, I actually won over here. And I believe you need to celebrate that, because that actually puts a memory in place for you so you can do it again and again and again. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, you're basically building a neural pathway of when I do this, I win. And that's a beautiful way to end today. It's a great reminder. And by the way, you can use that process for anything that you're a little uncomfortable doing in your business, right? So, oh my gosh, amplifiers, thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you, Dee, for being such an amazing guest and dropping some really valuable insights. Today's episode, this is a gem to keep in your toolbox. Keep it handy. Make sure you know how to get a hold of Dee when and if this comes up, and be sure to download the resource at collectthecash.biz/freebie. We will link that up in the show notes. Now, it would mean the world to me if you would share today's episode and pop over to Apple Podcasts and review and rate the show as well. You can come connect with myself and our guest today on social media. Give the episode some love. Let Dee know what the big ahas were. And as a reminder, if you want more growth fuel strategies for your business, come join me over on my Growth Fuel Substack. And we'll link that in the show notes as well. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode.